888-723-23.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. We're working towards the weekend. Hope you're having a good one. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Our Thursday staples coming at you today. Luke Johnson in 15 minutes talking Saints. Chris Blair at 2:15 talking Tigers. Is Philadelphia any good? Probably, but we'll talk about it in hour number 2. Best college football win and loss, best NFL win and loss on the board at the end of hour number 1. And I want to talk about UCLA's offense in depth for the first time at 1:30. So lots and lots to do, and appreciate you hanging out with us here. We'll start with some matchups to watch between LSU and UCLA as we start inching closer to Tigers and Bruins. 2:30 scheduled kick, 2:45 actual kick inside Tiger Stadium. So if you're going to be there, you've got a couple of extra minutes. The listed start time is going to be a little bit later. If you're running around in the morning or lunchtime at Saturday and want to make sure you're getting back, you've got a little bit of a buffer there until 2:45 when LSU and UCLA are actually scheduled to crank things up inside of Tiger Stadium. We're going to talk a lot about UCLA today and tomorrow, and the overwhelming theme, which you already know, is that they're not very good. You're all very well aware they went out to Hawaii, and they were leading for 1 minute of the 60 in that game. And then they came home after a bye week and got embarrassed by Indiana. So it's not a good football team. That'll be the theme, but I do think there are some things to watch because it's not like LSU is some kind of world beater. We're all very well aware that LSU was in a 2-point game against Nichols in the second half, okay? So it's not like LSU can just roll the ball out there, go ahead and take care of business and get a win. I don't think South Carolina is going to win 5 or 6 league games, and LSU went to the wire, and that one was down 17-0. So there's still football to break down here. There's still something to talk about between LSU and UCLA. So I wrote for LouisianaSports.net a piece that's up there, was published yesterday, but I want to kind of go in depth here on the radio for those that didn't get a chance to check it out and talk about some matchups that I want to see in this game coming up. We'll start on the line of scrimmage with UCLA's interior offensive line and LSU's defensive tackle rotation. We, for the first time last week, got a look at what LSU is going to do without Jacoby and Guillory. That was a question because everything beyond Jacoby and Guillory at that position group is a question. Gio Paez has moved from end to tackle, and he's a transfer. Ahmad Bro is a freshman. Paris Shand is moving from end to tackle. Jalen Lee's been a backup his whole career. Sean Washington was just in JUCO. JVR Suggs was just at Grand Valley State. Kimo Makaniole played on the offensive line. Everybody's moving. Guillory was the only guy who was a tackle and is a tackle. Everybody else has been moving around. And we saw that rotation for the first time on Saturday. And it broke down like this, according to Pro Football Focus. Gio Paez played 39 snaps. Ahmad Bro, the true freshman, played 31 snaps. Now, Paris Shand played 37 snaps in the game on defense. He split those between end and tackle, but he's certainly in that rotation. Those are the guys that took the lion's share of the reps, Paez, Bro, and Shand. The spell guys, the relief guys, were Jalen Lee for 13 snaps, Sean Washington for 11, JVR Suggs for 5, and Kimo Makaniole for 2. So those guys are only playing here and there. They were not atrocious in the game on Saturday. Like, it's not their fault when Rocket Sanders takes a handoff off left end and Whit Weeks does not fill his assignment and the guy busts it down the sideline. That's not the defensive tackle's fault. And it wasn't like South Carolina, every time they wanted to, just got 5, 6, 8, 10 yards on the ground. They held their own. Are they playmakers? No. Are they going to be playmakers? Probably not. But they need to hold their own. Now, UCLA, it's puzzling why they haven't gotten any running game going because they pounded the football last year. They led the Pac-12 in yards per game rushing. They ran it for over 200 yards 6 different times. Like, the identity of this offense was expected to be the running game. And they bring back some beef on the interior offensive line. Spencer Holstage is a fifth-year senior at left guard. He made 31 starts at Purdue before transferring last year. He started 11 for UCLA last year. Josh Carlin moves from right guard to center, but he was a starter. Those two guys weigh over 315 pounds, and they bring in Alani Makihili. Probably didn't get that right, but you get the point. He's their right guard at 6'3", 350 pounds. They are old there. They are big there. And when you look at LSU's defensive tackles, you realize that Bro and Shand are closer to 275. Shand because he's been an end most of the time, and Bro because he's a true freshman. Piaz is 305, but LSU didn't have a 320-pound space eater in there. And UCLA is pretty big. Now, they hadn't run the ball worth squat in their first 2 games. They've tried 46 carries for just 167 yards. They haven't topped 100 yards rushing against Hawaii or Indiana. So we'll see how much UCLA tries to run it. I'm going to talk about their backs and receivers later on in this hour, but my gut would say they would try to run the ball. They're not exactly a juggernaut throwing it. And we'll see how LSU responds to that. I'm curious about how that matchup plays out, and we certainly know that how LSU's tackles respond to this position that they've been put in, which is new for all of them now. It's a tenuous spot for LSU. I think that's a big deal because UCLA is very veteran up front in the middle of their offensive line. That's a big, big spot to watch. Second piece, LSU wide receivers against the UCLA corners. I like LSU's wide receivers big time in this matchup. Kyron Lacey is balling out. He's been fantastic. He's got 5 touchdowns in 3 games. He's made 17 catches over 3 games. He's averaging over 13 yards a catch. That is all great, and I think we're all encouraged with what we saw from Aaron Anderson last week. He stretched the field a little bit. He's quicker. He looks faster. He's making catches. He's excited. It's a far cry from the guy that we saw last year. And then we'll see. I think Kyle Parker is going to be good to go. I think the best we've seen, the best is yet to come for C.J. Daniels. He hasn't really gotten moving yet. Just 11 catches in the 3 games, 143 yards, no touchdowns. He can play, and I think he's going to be ready to roll. Incidentally, you can catch my question and answer session with the rest of the media and C.J. Daniels up at LouisianaSports.net. But I digress. LSU's wide receiving core is talented, and I think they can really cook against this UCLA secondary. Last year, UCLA secondary was really good. Their whole defense was really good under D'Anton Lynn. But you lost Alex Johnson, who was a corner last year. He's moved on to the New York Giants. You lost John Humphrey. He followed Lynn to USC. So now what do you have in the secondary for UCLA? Well, you got a bunch of transfers. Brian Addison from Oregon's in. Ramon Henderson from Notre Dame is in. KJ Wallace from Georgia Tech is in. All of them started games at their previous stops, but they're in year 1 at UCLA. So how have they fared through 2 games? Well, not so great, it turns out. Curtis Rourke, who I don't think is going to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think he'll be the Unitas winner. I don't think he's going to make room on that trophy shelf for the Maxwell Award. He's just Indiana's quarterback. Just a fine young man and a solid player. Well, what did he do in the Rose Bowl last week? 25 of 33 for 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I can't promise you that I know everything about Indiana's receiving core or young Curtis Rourke, the quarterback. But
I know about Curtis Rourke.
Tell me about Curtis Rourke.
Curtis Rourke was a quarterback at Ohio in the MAC. He was
the Bobcats.
Yes, and his brother Nathan was actually quarterback before in there. Both very good quarterbacks. Nathan's in the NFL now.
Lovely.
And Curtis is he's pretty good, man. Honestly, he was really good at Ohio. And
is he going to be invited to the Heisman Trophy ceremony?
Probably not.
Okay.
However, I don't think Lenora
Maxwell
Sellers
Award?
is either.
It's tough. It's a tough scene.
It is.
But theoretically, we're flipping the sides of the ball there because we're talking about LSU's offense, not their defense.
Yes.
So either way, I think LSU's offense is going to feast against this UCLA secondary that was not good last week, and it was not good against Hawaii. If you total the passing yardage from Hawaii and Indiana against UCLA, 50 of 75, 67% completion, 534 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The Bruins did get a pick, 2 of those in Honolulu, but Hawaii moved the ball through the air for a lot of that game, and I think LSU can do the exact same. This is where I think LSU's got a huge advantage in the game. So the first matchup, we're talking about UCLA's interior offensive line against LSU's DTs. LSU needs to hold their own. This matchup, LSU wide receivers versus those DBs, you got to eat. You got to make it happen, and we'll see if they can do that. Last one, and we've talked about this a little bit, and we mentioned it with the UCLA Locked On UCLA podcaster that we talked to yesterday. How does UCLA handle the weather? And I think they'll be okay. It's been warm in Southern California. They played a game in Hawaii where it was 89 degrees. Game time temperature is supposed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 91, 92 on Saturday. And you're talking about a heat index of somewhere around 101 at kickoff around 2:45, pushing 3 o'clock. It'll be hot then. And that sun is going to stay on that sideline for the entirety of the game. I don't think this is going to make a huge deal, but I don't want to rule it out. And so I just want to be aware of that. If LSU gets into a tough competitive game in the second half, does UCLA start to wear down a little bit? Because not only is the sun and the weather a factor for these guys that have been running around in 65-degree temps this week, but UCLA is not the deepest team that LSU has seen. Realize that the transfer portal opens up. They're in a coaching change. They lost a lot of players. Your defensive coordinator goes somewhere else. That's a big deal. So they lost a lot of guys. They're not deep and talented here at UCLA. If the numbers start to become an issue, if cramps start to become an issue, if fatigue starts to become an issue, I think it's more likely to go on UCLA's side than it is LSU's side, especially because they're going to be in the sun the entirety of the game because they're standing on the east sideline. And anyone who's been inside that stadium knows the east side can get real brutal real quick for some of these early kickoffs in September. So those are kind of the three matchups that I'm looking for. We've got a lot more to talk about. I want to get more in-depth with UCLA's skill position players and their quarterback moving forward. But those are three that I'm looking at. If you want to read a little bit more deeply into that, you can do so at louisianasports.net. We take a time out. When we come back, Luke Johnson from The Advocate talking Saints. Philly's coming to town. It's going to be live in that dome. We're talking about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy. EvolvePT.com is the website. Robbie Bolton, 2 decades as a physical therapist here in the capital city. If you're dealing with pain, he's your guy. Doesn't matter how the pain showed up. Slept wrong, car accident, maybe you're injured playing sports, whether you're a youth athlete or an adult that's trying to go out there and play, but maybe you had a little injury trying to overexert things a little bit. Robbie Bolton doesn't care how old you are. If you're active and you want to get back to being your active self and pain is stopping you from doing that, Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports is your one-stop shop. It is not rehabilitation if you're getting handed a list of workouts and exercises to do to stretch and then say, hey, we'll see you next week. When you walk into Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports, you will have a physical therapist with you start to finish. They will be hands-on, and they will be invested in making sure that that pain is diminishing, that that strength is returning, and that you're getting back to being your active self, whether that's running, lifting weights, playing golf, pickleball, whatever the case may be. Even if you're a youth athlete just trying to get back on the field, you can do it with Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports. They're online at EvolvePT.com. They're on Starring near Highland Road, right by Sammy's Grill. It's Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports, EvolvePT.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
You are headed to campus to tailgate on Saturday for the first big-time home game. Rouse's needs to be your stop. On the way out there, you can say hey to Charlie and Musso because they'll be out there for Eagle 98.1 game day on Saturday. About 9 a.m. They'll be out there at Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Rouse is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of those Saints, they look pretty good. They're 2-0, and the Eagles are coming to the Dome to take on the black and gold in what should be an incredible atmosphere. Luke Johnson covers the Saints for The Advocate. He joins us every single Thursday here on the show. Does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm still recovering from that champagne bath I took last night celebrating the NL Central title.
Oh, my God in heaven. Didn't even see it coming. We lost to the A's and the Rockies. It's a disaster. I'm disgusted. I thought the Brewers were absolutely out of my mind. They traded their two best pitchers weren't available, and they clinched in the middle of September. It's a disgrace by the organization in Chicago.
This is great radio, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do this for another 10 minutes.
That's just not, because we have really important stuff to talk about. If I had told you 15 days ago the Saints would be 2-0, you would have said?
I wouldn't have been necessarily surprised. I actually, on our podcast in May when the schedule was released, I actually picked the Saints to beat the Cowboys in that game. But I just didn't think it was going to look like this. So, the 2-0 part, I'm not necessarily surprised by, but, the way they've done it, yes, absolutely shocked.
What's been the most shocking part of the first 2 weeks?
I mean, it's the offense, right? It's everything about the offense. With the exception of the structure of it, I think a lot of us were kind of anticipating that. A lot of outside zone, a lot of play action. We kind of saw in training camp the run game is probably going to look pretty good. But I don't think anybody was anticipating this offensive line was going to give up two not very costly sacks through 2 weeks. I sure as hell don't think anybody was anticipating Derek Carr having 142 passer rating, having the Saints have literally the most explosive offense in the league. I mean, you can look at pretty much any stat. They're number 1 to 5 in everything. It doesn't matter if you're talking counting stats or the advanced stats like EPA per play and success rate. They're way up at the top of the NFL and everything. And that's just, it's really, really surprising. They've caught a lot of people off guard. Defensively, is it about what you expected? Is it better? No, I think it's about what I expected. I thought they were going to be pretty good defensively this year. And that's why all the stuff in the lead up to the season and these power rankings that had the Saints 28th, 27th. I felt like a lot of that was based off vibes because admittedly the vibes were terrible. But that defense was always going to keep them at the very least competitive, right? They were always going to be in games. It was just a matter of what their offense could be. I think the only thing about this defense where you wanted to see him take a huge step forward from last year was in the pass rush. And I think the front four has been a lot better through 2 weeks than maybe a lot of people were giving them credit for coming into the season. I think Chase Young's been a really strong addition to this team. Cam Jordan's playing a lot less than he did last year, and a lot of his snaps are as an interior rusher on passing situations. So I think they have 4 or 5 guys who can rush the passer, and it's made things a lot better for this defense, especially since teams are kind of having to throw the ball because of the situation the offense is putting them in.
Yeah, I think Philly would like to stay away from that. I think they'd like to run the ball with Jalen Hurts and, of course, their new addition, Saquon Barkley, who had a monster game down in Brazil in the opener. How do you feel about the Saints matching up with the Eagles' running game? I know that running quarterbacks have been kind of a bugaboo in the Allen era.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that is kind of giving me a little bit of concern in this matchup, right? The Eagles have studs kind of all throughout the skill position areas. Obviously, the A.J. Brown injury is something we're kind of keeping a close eye on because when he's healthy, he's like a top 3 receiver in the NFL. He's really, really good, and they know how to use him. But if he's not out there, I mean, it's really just comes down to whether the Saints can stop this run game or at least prevent it from being something where Philly has like this huge time of possession advantage and they're grinding out long drives and keeping the Saints offense off the field. The Saints haven't faced a rushing attack like this yet. They're a little bit untested. So I think that's going to be the key in this one. And you're right. The stopping mobile quarterbacks has been a huge thorn in this defensive side for years. They play all this man coverage. Guys have their backs turned to the quarterback. And if, he escapes the contain of the pocket, a lot of times there's a lot of room to run. And we've seen Jalen Hurts time and time again against the Saints and against other teams really burn other teams with his ability to run and his ability to scramble.
Do you think Cam Jordan plays more in a game where you figure Philly might stick to the ground? That's kind of this thing that he can still do pretty well.
I think really that just depends on the game script. If the Saints kind of continue on this offensive trajectory where they're scoring on every possession, it's going to be hard for Philly to get into a type of game where they're pounding the Saints on the run. If they're going to be in a lot of passing situations, I would expect Cam to play an awful lot. Especially when they're rotating him inside on those obvious second and third and long passing situations. But if it's a tighter game, which it absolutely could be, especially if Philly's able to establish the run, then he's going to have to be out there a lot because he's one of their better run defenders still. Even though he's not what he used to be as a pass rusher, he's still a very, very good run defender.
Look at the secondary for the Saints, and they were pretty good without Lattimore. That's a testament to Dennis Allen and the talent he's accrued there in the secondary. Lamb had the one big play. You mentioned A.J. Brown being out. Devontae Smith is out there, but how does the Saints match up on the outside without A.J. Brown potentially?
I think really good. And even if A.J. Brown's out there, I have a feeling that Marshawn Lattimore is going to play this week.
Yeah.
He's been out of practice, and he's the type of guy who thrives in those matchups, especially like being a player who has a lot to prove still. I think he wants A.J. Brown to be out there, but if he's not, they still have good weapons. Like Devontae Smith is a really good receiver. Dallas Goedert is a really good tight end, and the Saints had some trouble with tight ends last year. They still got guys who can hurt you, but this has just been year over year consistently a very, very good secondary. And if you get a guy like Marshawn Lattimore back, then you're 4 deep at corner. You got Tyron chipping in there as a still very good safety, center field safety, or a guy who's going to kind of make you pay for mistakes. Honestly, I would take them against just about everybody right now. They're very deep in that secondary, and Dennis Allen knows how to get those guys ready to play against elite receivers.
Best dome environment on Sunday since when?
Like 2019.
Yeah.
Seriously, I was talking to my colleague Matthew Paris in week 1. He started covering the team midway through last year. About the third quarter in week 1, when they were just braining Carolina, I leaned over to him. I'm like, this is close to what it used to be like all the time. And that was a game where it was literally, I checked at kickoff, it was $18 to get into the stadium at kickoff. The secondary market right now, it's $150 to get into the game, week 3. It is going to be absolutely bananas down there. And we'll see if the Saints can like keep this up and keep giving people something to cheer for, because like home field advantage hasn't really been a thing for them in recent years. They're playing to about a 500 record at the Dome. So if they could get that crowd back behind them, I mean, like that could be so helpful for them, especially against an offense with like a lot of talented players.
I'm not talking about winning by 20 points every week. I'm not talking about scoring every time they touch the ball, but just in general, how sustainable is this Saints run? Can they be a real threat in the NFC?
It's hard to argue against it right now. There's going to be times when teams are going to come up with solutions to what they're doing, and we're going to have to see whether they can adjust to that. They've been playing since the start of the season. They played like the same game script, right? It's they get up early and then they just kind of sit on a lead. Like Derek Carr has like 35 pass attempts through 2 weeks. Like there's going to be games where he's going to have to throw the ball 35 times in one game. But I think we've also just seen so much creativeness out of Clint Kubiak and getting guys in position to make plays. And especially if they're going to keep running the ball like this. And I think they will this week against Philly. Philly's got a terrible run defense. I mean, we saw Bijan Robinson kill them on outside zones for like the better chunk of Monday night's game. And that is like exactly the Saints' bread and butter. If they can keep running the ball like this or anything close to this, they can build literally everything else they do off that run game. That's what makes them so tough to defend. So I'm buying in on them, man. I think they're going to be really fun and interesting and exciting all season. And I think I'm confident in Kubiak to come up with the counters to the counters.
That's the biggest thing there, because they're going to come quickly, and that's just part of being in the NFL, but he's aware of that. It's not like that's going to catch him off guard. I'm curious to see it as well. Last thing here, Luke, we appreciate some time here. Derek Carr met with the media yesterday and kind of talked about the reception that he got in the Dome last year, that the whole team got in the Dome last year, and that it's going to be different on Sunday. And he, as usual, said all the right things. But what do you make of that kind of change of heart in New Orleans over a 2-week span about the starting quarterback?
Well, I mean, it tells you everything you need to know about the NFL, right? It is a cutthroat business, and it was unfair last year. There's no doubt about that. But like people pay a lot of money to go see these games, and they demand a very high level from their players. So the only way to turn that around is to have success. And I'm frankly like surprised at how quickly it's changed and how quickly public perception of him has changed. But I'm glad to see it. I was worried that they were going to come out and look pretty good, and people were still going to hate Derek Carr and Dennis Allen. But I think, just judging by what I see, which is only a small window into the Saints fanhood, but it is it is worth noting. Everything's been super positive. Everybody's been really, really excited, and that's just. It's fun being around this team again. Like for the last 3 years, it wasn't fun, and it's fun now, and I really appreciate that.
I get how that goes. I've covered some bad LSU teams. I've covered some good ones day to day, and it's a lot more fun when they're playing good. Luke, we appreciate. I just saw this. Derek Carr got fined $14,000 for his touchdown celebration. So I don't think he's
talk about no fun, right? I mean, geez, come on, man. Like Michael Jackson performed at a Super Bowl and did the same thing at a Super Bowl. He didn't find Michael Jackson. Get out of here with that nonsense, NFL.
I would tend to agree. No fun league, but everybody's having some fun in New Orleans. It ought to be an awesome environment. Enjoy the game on Sunday. We'll talk next week, Luke. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
He is Luke Johnson with The Advocate at By Luke Johnson for all your Saints coverage. $14,000 for Derek Carr. I think he'll live. That's a pretty sizable contract you got there, $100 million. But it is what it is.
Luke had a good tweet on Sunday for the Saints game. They had a picture of Cam Jordan on the sideline, smiling, talking to Derek Carr, and he had like a little three shot picture of Derek Carr smiling. And then you probably haven't seen the movie, but there's a movie called Django Unchained with
heard of it, never seen it.
Leonardo DiCaprio. There's a famous.
It's one of the best directors, Scorsese.
Yeah,
or
right.
One of the guys.
Yeah, it's so
Tarantino. It's one of those guys.
Yeah, it's Tarantino.
There you go.
So there's this famous meme of Leonardo DiCaprio's character smiling, and he looks just like him. And he put like a 3-shot picture of Cam Jordan and him smiling, and then and it actually did pretty well. And then somebody, of course, photoshopped Cam Jordan's head like onto Leonardo DiCaprio, so it kind of went a little viral. So good for Luke.
Excellent work, Luke. Way to be creative on the Twitter machine.
Yeah.
The Saints are going to win by $1 billion every
Might
week.
as well. You got to do
already
something.
got your story written. You got to do something to pass the time in the press box. He's correct about it just being more fun to be around. It's more fun to talk about it. It's more fun to watch. Just the whole thing is better. And I realize that this city, Baton Rouge, is not exactly like New Orleans, and that things are far more impactful in the 504 than they are up here in the 225. We get a little bit more giddy when things are awesome with LSU than with the Saints, but it's just a complete change. And it really wasn't the Carolina game that did it. It was last week against Dallas that did it. And if they can continue it against what is perceived to be a really good Philadelphia team, and we'll talk about that in the second hour, it's just going to grow. And that's really, really fun around here. So let's hope that keeps up. All right, let's talk about UCLA's offensive personnel and their offensive coordinator. We will do that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. If you're a business owner and you just hate talking about insurance, well, I won't do it for long. We just got a minute, but we've got to talk about it because it's important. It can be very, very important if a storm blows through, if there's an auto accident, if there's a hurricane that comes in, if there's a cyber breach. And you got to have the right stuff. If you don't have your insurance correct, then you're paying a bunch of money that you don't want to pay, and you're going to have to pay on top of that once the incident happens. Make sure that doesn't happen. Your insurance broker should not be the guy that knocked on your door and said, hey, let me cut everything out of your policy, and then we'll go ahead and save you 20%. If that's the case and that's the way you want to do it, I probably wouldn't call the Highland Insurance Group. If you want to make sure that it is right and you're paying the proper amount for the proper coverage, Highland Insurance Group is your one-stop shop. Jonathan Carbo always told me, he's like, hey, folks trust their attorney to be involved in everything. They trust their CPA to be involved in everything and to see the books and to see it all. That's the same way you should feel about your insurance broker. They should be part of your team protecting you from catastrophe. And that's what insurance is for. And Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group will do it. If you're a business owner and you don't know what EPL insurance is or D&O insurance is or all those insurance words that I had to learn for 7 years, but you know that insurance just costs a lot, well, why don't you figure it out and make sure that you've got the correct insurance in place. The Highland Insurance Group will make sure that happens. Check them out at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques, Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Some very good news for Trey Morgan. We'll talk about that in 15 minutes. We want to stick with football here. We talked about LSU at the top. Actually, some of UCLA as well. We talked Saints with Luke. Now we'll get back into LSU, UCLA. You know, everyone's well aware that UCLA is in year one of a new coaching situation. You know, Deshaun Foster took over for Chip Kelly, but it wasn't your traditional transition of power. This was not a December firing that yielded a traditional coaching search that begot this era of UCLA football. It was not that. Chip Kelly left February the 9th to go call plays for Ohio State. February the 9th. So you basically got your signing class locked in December, and you're, 4, 5, 6 weeks from starting spring ball, and he's out of there. And so UCLA was basically on the back end of the coaching carousel. Like, everybody had already found their jobs. They didn't get to jump in with everybody else and see what they could do. And by the way, like, hiring Chip Kelly was a pretty good hire name-wise when they did it. So, and the last guy they hired was Jim Mora, who was an NFL head coach. So it's a different situation than most were in a coaching change. Last year, UCLA went 8-5. They went 4-5 in the Pac-12. They crushed USC 38-20 in the Coliseum. They were a functional football program. You saw the team that crushed LSU back in 2021. I mean, that team was pretty good. Like, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was a good college quarterback, and Zach Charbonnet's still in the NFL, and you had good tight end play and a solid defense. And, like, last year, D'Anton Lynn made them one of the top 15, 20 defenses in college football. Like, it's not like UCLA is just a complete doormat. Now, you compare them over the last 20 years to Oregon and Washington and USC, or Utah. Like, no, they have not been a power. Far from it. But they're not a doormat. Chip Kelly had them functional. Nobody cared. Nobody went to the Rose Bowl. Nobody gives a rip about UCLA football, but they were decent. And the first 2 weeks, they haven't been decent. And I'm a little curious as to why. Like, Ethan Garbers played a lot of quarterback for them last year, and he's the quarterback for this team that'll come into Tiger Stadium on Saturday. He's a fifth-year senior. Last year, because of injuries, they had to play 3 different starting quarterbacks, and they still won 8 games with 3 different quarterbacks starting. But he started 6 games. They won 5 of those, and he threw for 1,136 yards, like 226 a game, but you realize that UCLA was the best rushing team in the Pac-12 last year, so it's not like they needed him to air it out. But he was very effective, efficient, threw 11 touchdowns, only 3 picks. In the USC game last year, he threw 3 touchdowns. One of them was a really good play where he evaded a blitz and threw a little dump-off touchdown pass. He doesn't have a lot of great physical gifts. He's not 6'5". He doesn't have a rocket arm. He's not a great athlete, but he's a functional college quarterback. And he's just been bad through 2 weeks. I don't really know another way to say it. Like, he just has not played well at all. In the passing game this year against what I would consider to be fairly subpar competition, he's completing 54% of his throws. He's thrown 1 touchdown and 3 picks. Hawaii and Indiana. Like, that's markedly worse than he was last year. In the running game, and I just talked about in the first segment of the show, they've got 4 starters back on their offensive line, and they were good running the ball last year, and most of that was TJ Harden last year. He's a 6'2" tall back. He ran for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns against USC last year. 1 rushing, 1 receiving in that game. But, like, fairly skilled back. To this point this year, just almost nothing. 21 carries, 63 yards. He's averaging 2.7 yards per carry. He's averaging 28 yards per game through 2 games. A guy last year that was a 500-plus yard rusher, he's going for 28 a night on Hawaii and Indiana. I saw Keegan Jones on a highlight reel. You keep in mind, whenever I go watch a team, I usually watch the highlight reel. I can't get any feel for UCLA's offensive players this year because they have no offensive highlights to show. You show a highlight video of that game, and it goes like 4 minutes, and it's mostly the other team scoring points. It's Indiana going up and down the field. It's Hawaii throwing the ball around a little bit. It's field goals. I never see these guys. I had to go back to last year. One of them was Spanish highlights I had to watch to get a feel for what these guys are because they haven't put any highlights on tape through 2 weeks. But Keegan Jones is fast. I can tell you that. I saw one of those highlights against Oregon. He took a little screen pass and was booking it down the sidelines. Those guys look to be functional. They haven't done squat in 2 weeks. And the wide receivers, we talked to the Locked On UCLA podcast host yesterday. He said, yeah, Rico Flores and J. Michael Sturdivant are like pretty talented dudes. And you look at their high school rating and you look at their size. They're both 6'2", 205 pounds. Sturdivant maybe 6'3". And they're not really doing much. Now, Flores has made 3 kind of quote-unquote big plays. He has 3 catches that have gone for over 30 yards. But like J. Michael Sturdivant last year, 16.5 yards per catch. He had 4 touchdowns, almost 600 yards for a run-first offense. And you look up this year, and he's made 3 catches on the year. 3 catches on the year in 2 games. Like, they're just not doing anything on offense. So as I put all that together, and I tell you about a team that's not moving the ball and that's having its issues and that came off of a bye week last week, had 2 weeks to prep the first snap of the game. They snapped it to the quarterback, Garbers. He went to turn around and hand it off to Harden. They ran into each other and fumbled. Indiana fell in at the 17-yard line. Like, they look completely discombobulated. And if I'm LSU and Blake Baker, like, I'm going to be really disappointed if they can't slow this team down. We were all disappointed by the Nichols game. I get that. Again, you're coming off of a tough loss. It's a short week, and it's Nichols. There's no excuse in this game. These guys are not producing. I hesitate to say they can't because they were decent last year, but they've got a different play caller. And let's be frank, like, I feel like at this point you got to trust Chip Kelly to call plays a little bit more than you trust Eric Bieniemy. I went through Eric Bieniemy's resume and I actually put a story up on LouisianaSports.net about it. And like, outside of when he's got Mahomes, they don't score a lot of points. He was the OC at Colorado for 2 years and they were terrible. They averaged about 16 points a game while he was the OC there for 2 years. He left and went to Washington, and I'm not calling that a great situation with Ron Rivera at quarterback and ended up in a position to draft Jaden Daniels. But, like, they weren't good last year on offense. They were one of the 5 worst offenses in the league. And so it starts to make a little bit more sense now when you think about Eric Bieniemy's career arc and how everybody was banging on the door for 4 years that he had to get a head coaching job in the NFL. And I'm going, he's interviewing. Everybody knows they're scoring a lot of points, but let's be freaking candid. You're interviewing this guy for your head coaching position, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill aren't coming with him. So how much is him and how much is not? And if you take that piece of his resume where he wasn't really running the offense and he had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, it's pretty crappy. And there are basically no offensive coaches that can come in with awful players and figure it out. But even the best guy needs some help. This is proof in the pudding that Chip Kelly got these exact guys, Garbers, Harden, J. Michael Sturdivant. Like, these were the guys on last year's team, Keegan Jones, and they were functional. They won 8 games. They ran the football really well. Same thing with the 4 offensive linemen. They don't do squat on this team.
I mean, just look at the comparison of the Saints. They have the same players they had last year, and they're a very good offense. Last year they were not good. So just look at the effect that a guy that's calling plays can have on a team.
And you feel like if you're a UCLA fan and you just hear off a surface area thing, you've hired Eric Bieniemy, you go, oh, that guy was almost an NFL head coach. Like, okay.
You'd have to think that's a positive hire. You can't see that and think, oh, that's not a good hire.
Well, it hasn't worked yet. And if it does on Saturday night against LSU, this guy in this chair right here is going to be a cranky dude because there's no reason the UCLA should come in here and go up and down the field.
No.
This should be a statement performance for LSU. Maybe not to the national people, maybe not even to the fan base, to them themselves. We can do this.
Yeah, because no one is going. This is another situation, not as similar as the Nichols game, but it's another situation where if LSU goes out there and wins 45-13, no one's really going to bat their eyes at it.
No.
But if they go out there and give up 25 or 30, then people are going to talk about it. So it's one of those. Yeah, you're right. It's like they have to do it for themselves.
Here's a proclamation for you. If they win this game 43-38, I promise you have my word, I will pick Ole Miss to score 60 in my pick'em on Friday. On that 2 weeks from Friday, 3 weeks actually. I will pick Ole Miss to score 60 if UCLA scores 38.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, you let South Carolina score 33.
Yeah.
So things are possible.
Yeah, you're right.
They need to hold. What's the line of delineation here? I think, depending on how it goes, if LSU's offense turns it over and gives them 3 short fields or something, but in general terms, if they hold UCLA under,
I say 25.
I was going to say 21. I'm not super thrilled with 24.
Yeah, no,
they
but
didn't snip that against Indiana or Hawaii.
Yeah, I just think it could be a situation where, hopefully it's a situation where maybe LSU's up big and they maybe score a touchdown at the end to get them over.
If there are extenuating circumstances like turnovers or the twos come in, then we'll scrap it. But if this thing is played straight up, and I feel like there are starters in the game in the fourth quarter, and LSU wins it by 17 points, and LSU holds them on to 21 or under, I'll feel decent about it. There was a time where I would never think that UCLA should score 21 points on LSU. That time is not today. I think that if LSU can hold them to 21 or under, I'll consider it a reasonable success.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think the UCLA, what we're seeing from them right now, I think it just goes to show what happens to a team that isn't. They're like a middling team, and they lose their coach. Not to mention it was even worse than normal, but they lose their coach and they lose all these players in the transfer portal. I think this just goes to show how bad of an effect it can have on a team like that. I'm
jaded by the completely meaningless Big Ten Media Days thing that we saw.
Yeah.
I'm jaded by that because I think it's, and I realize I sit here and talk in front of a microphone for 10 hours a day, so I'm not exactly like, everybody that doesn't do this, and there are plenty of people that have fear of public speaking, but that was frightening to watch.
It was.
And so I'm jaded by that, and I think they may have missed here. It's too early, but I think they may have missed. But we'll see. They get a chance to come in here and shock the world on Saturday. So they're 3 touchdown dogs. We'll see. We'll close out hour number 1 coming up. Trey Morgan got some great news yesterday. We'll tell you what it was. Coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about LeBear's Baton Rouge because it's got to be your game day watching headquarters. They have incredibly huge screens right there, comfy chairs right there in front of them. They got great food. You can watch and wager right there all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It is football season. There's no better place to take it in than LeBear's. But I also want to invite you to check out the Cover 5 app where you can compete against me. And right now, I'm not feeling great because this past week was atrocious by me. I lost 4 of my 5 bets. I gave back all the goodwill I built up over 2 weeks. You can compete against me if you download the Cover 5 app. Got an SEC contest. You pick SEC games against the number. Got to enter the promo code LABRSEC24. LABRSEC24. You pick 5 SEC games, and depending on how you do relative to the spread and the final score, you get points plus or minus. And it's a season-long competition and a week-by-week competition. You can win prizes as well. If you're not a member, you can get the Penn Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. All your tailgating gear, they got it. Saints are at home, LSU's at home. If you're tailgating, get by Rouse's. There's plenty in New Orleans, North Shore, Baton Rouge, everywhere in between. You can find a Rouse's. Get your tailgating or watch party stuff all there at Rouse's. Rouse's, this feels like home. Shout out Trey Morgan. He was the Rays Minor League Player of the Year throughout the organization. Just a sensational first full professional season from Trey Morgan. Start to finish, he was really, really good. He took some lumps in his last stop there in Double-A, as you would expect for a 21-year-old. That's not completely unheard of. Only hit .211 there. But for the season, hit well over 300, had an on-base percentage over 400, hit 10 home runs, stole 20 bases. So really, really good first year for Trey Morgan. I actually checked the positions he played. He played primarily first base, played about a fourth of the game in the outfield, and then played quite a bit actually at designated hitter, which I don't expect to stick. But he's shown some versatility. He swung the bat really well. He's ascended very, very quickly through that organization, and he's got a chance to go and really make a statement in spring training next year and maybe break in AAA. And have a chance to be, one day away from the big leagues if he can make that happen. So awesome first year for Trey Morgan. I know we talk about Skeens and Cruz a ton, but Morgan has had a great first year in professional baseball as well. All right, best win, worst loss, college football and the NFL. We'll do that to finish up our number one. Best college football win, I vacillated back and forth between who to go with here in the same game, and I went with Oklahoma over Tennessee as the best win. Usually I go with road teams there, but I think Tennessee's a lot better than Oklahoma. So if Oklahoma can beat them, that's a huge, huge win for them. I could spin it around and talk about it being the Vols because they got a really good chance to make the playoffs so they can go get that road win. But I think it's Oklahoma over Tennessee for the best win in college football. Worst loss, and these are plausible losses here in college football. One might be right down the street on Nicholson Drive there, but I'm going to go outside of our market and say Miami at South Florida. Do we really trust Miami at this point? Like, they were great in the Swamp and they've looked really good. Cam Ward looks fantastic, but don't go stub your toe up there in Tampa. Like, that's not a good idea. That'd be the worst loss in college football. The best win in the NFL, to me, Sunday Night Football, if the Falcons could beat the Chiefs in Atlanta, would be the biggest win. That's a huge win for Atlanta to go to Philly and get that done in the last minute. If they could back that up with a win over Kansas City, who wasn't a world beater against Cincinnati back on Sunday, that would be a huge win for Atlanta. We certainly hope that doesn't happen, but it would be quite large. The worst loss in the NFL, to me, would be the Bucs at home. They've played so well through 2 weeks. They got the Broncos coming in. I'm sure they're pretty familiar with Sean Payton over there in Tampa. Broncos look awful. Bo Nix looks terrible, throwing everything around the line of scrimmage, turning the ball over, not throwing the ball for touchdowns. They look really bad. And so Bucs have gotten off to a really good start. Saints fans will pull for Sean Payton this week and then turn around a couple weeks and not so much pull for him. But I think that would be the worst loss in the NFL. So best win in college football, Oklahoma over Tennessee. Worst loss in college football, Miami at South Florida. Best win in the NFL, the Falcons over the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And the worst NFL loss would be the Bucs at home versus the Broncos.
Oh, I thought... Okay, I was going to say, are you just going to pick the worst loss to be whoever's playing the Panthers? Because honestly, you probably could.
No, you could. It's right there for the taking. But I am going to go with the Bucs, who are playing a bad Broncos team as well. Do you know what the Monday Night Football game is this week?
I don't.
The Bengals and the Commanders.
Ooh.
We like that.
Heisman LSU boys.
Talk about that one. That's going to be a little column for LouisianaSports.net. I can feel that coming on Monday for sure. That's it for hour number one. We're presented by Rouse's. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Gave you matchups to watch between LSU and UCLA at the top of the hour. Luke Johnson talking Saints. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. If you want more Saints coverage, subscribe to that channel. Our numbers have been fantastic, as you would expect, because the Saints are playing really good football. We talked about Eric Bieniemy and his UCLA offense as well. You can find that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. We'll step aside for Sports Center when we come back. Lots to do, including, is Philadelphia any good? We'll do that next.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Is Sports Center. I'm Doug Brown. NFL Week 3 kicks off tonight at the Meadowlands. The Jets playing their home opener against the Patriots. ESPN's Mina Kimes says don't underestimate the Patriots' defense.
They are for real. They have studs at every level. They're so well coached. I think their simulated pressures are going to give this Jets front fits. They are exceptional against the run. By the way, much better than New York on that front. So I see this game being close and ugly, exactly how New England wants it.
Mina Kimes on First Take. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports there's a chance Packers quarterback Jordan Love will start Sunday against the Titans. It was first thought he'd miss 3 to 4 weeks with a knee injury. He did sit out week 2. Texas Longhorns redshirt freshman quarterback Arch Manning gets his first college start Saturday night against Louisiana Monroe. Quinn Ewers out with an oblique injury. Last week against UTSA, Manning came off the bench throwing 4 touchdown passes and running for a score. And after joining the Florida Panthers for their run to the Stanley Cup last season, winger Kyle Oposo is retiring.
Why pay more for a great shave? Choose Barbasol, America's #1 brand of shaving cream. Barbasol's thick and rich lather gives you a close, comfortable shave for just half the price of gels. Barbasol.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer, really working towards the weekend now. I always harken back to last year when Hester and T-Bob tried to convince the masses that the weekend started on Thursday morning. I thought that was a little aggressive. To try to suggest that the weekend was starting at like 8:45 on a Thursday morning. No. There's still some hay to get in the barn there at that point.
Good bit.
As you start to churn toward like 4 o'clock on Thursday.
That's when you're getting there.
A lot of people like to, go out and have a margarita or something for Thursday evening dinner. And then Friday, I mean, let's talk about it. Football Fridays, I don't see a ton of real difficult work being done.
I'm of the opinion that Thursday is the best day of the week because
I can't get there.
Yeah, no, because you're one.
There's a lot of anticipation.
There is, but you're one day away from the weekend with Friday, and you're not too close to the weekend where it's like, oh well, we're I think it's just the perfect like middle of the week.
You still
where,
gotta get up early. I gotta get the kid to school on Friday.
It's just but it's the last day. You got to do it.
Yeah. Now, by that same token, I have been a staunch believer for years now. Christmas Eve is better than Christmas Day.
Yes, I agree.
I mean,
100%.
You got everybody coming together. There's big meal.
I'm
there's
with you.
drinks flowing. There's church, which is always the most enjoyable church service for me of the year. That's the anticipation for the next day because let's be really honest. Like you show up and like Santa Claus comes and like you turn around and like we've opened all the presents. It's like 9:20 a.m.
Yep.
Like what do we do now?
What do we do now?
Wait for lunch? Like I don't. So I'm in on a Christmas Eve. I can't get to Thursday being better than Friday.
All right. It's just that's just how I feel.
I could try to make the case Friday is better than Saturday, but I would probably.
I would say Friday too as well. I would go Thursday, Friday in my top 2 days of the week.
Okay.
My power rankings of days of the week.
There you go. Cassie, get on that graphic. Power ranking days of the week.
Yes,
What's worst?
Oh, gotta be Monday. I mean,
some people say Tuesday's worse because Monday you're feeling like rejuvenated.
No way. Monday's the worst.
Monday's not great. All right. Let's hope it's a good Monday for the New Orleans Saints. Saints will welcome Philly in on Sunday, and I think Philly has earned a reputation as one of the top organizations in the sport. And I think that would be very, very fair. Of course, they won that Super Bowl on the back of Nick Foles, who took over for Carson Wentz, and they were very, very good that year. And then all of a sudden, Foles and Wentz didn't work out and moved elsewhere, and you draft Jalen Hurts, and you're like, is that even going to work? What's the point? Can he even throw the ball? And then you look up, and it's like, oh, that's really working, and they're really good. And then they got to the Super Bowl in 2022 and lost in overtime. They were 14-3 that year in 2022. And then they started last year 10-1. So if you look at their regular season run from 2022 into 2023 to week 11, they were 24-4. That is remarkable. And because of that, the Super Bowl that they went to with Wentz and Foles, and then immediately bouncing back, and they've got that great defense that Fletcher Cox was spearheading, and Kelsey was an all-pro at center, and they bring in A.J. Brown, and it looks like a really, really good team, and they've garnered that reputation based on that year and a half. And now you look up and go, what are they lately? Well, at the end of last year, and I'll start in week 13 with Philly, they lost 42-19 against San Francisco in Philly in week 13. Week 14, they went to Dallas and lost 33-3, losing these games by 20-plus points. Week 15, they go to Seattle, decent Seattle team, but not great. They lose 20-17 in that one at Seattle. Then they play the Giants and Tyrod Taylor in Philly in week 16, and they beat them 33-25. An 8-point win over Tyrod Taylor's New York Giants. Then week 17, they lost 35-31 to Arizona, who won 4 games last year. Then they lost week 18 to the Giants at New York, 27-10. They finished last year 1-5. And they limped into the playoffs and went to Tampa, and they lost 32-9. Not even competitive against the NFC South champion. So that's got to matter a little bit. And Cox retires, and Kelsey retires, and now A.J. Brown's a little banged up. And what do we think about the Eagles? Like, are they really, really good? Now, I framed it that way for a reason, just to kind of get the creative juices going, get you thinking. You're talking about a team that was 1-6 in their last 7 football games last year. But they did go to Brazil and play a good game. Saquon Barkley looked incredible, and they beat Green Bay, who we think is good. So that's a nice win. And quite frankly, if Saquon Barkley just catches the football on Monday, I know because he's on the fantasy team, and the drop literally cost me the week. But if he just catches the ball, it was a good call. Hurts executed it, rolled out. Barkley was right there. He hit him right in the hands. And if he catches that ball, which I think he catches, let's not even go out of 100. He catches that 18 out of 20, 19 out of 20. The Eagles are a 2-0 football team with a brand new toy in the backfield who's an MVP-type talent, and a quarterback that's won a lot of games, and a coach that's won a lot of games. And they're thought of as one of the real threats in the NFC. But Barkley dropped the ball. And then the defense, all they had to do was hold him out of the end zone. No touchdowns. Field goal doesn't do anything. They got to score a touchdown. They went right down the field. Cousins, boom, 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 touchdown. And you lost the game on your home field. And while I do push back sometimes and try to offer some context on the zero-sum game of this is a win, this is a loss, in the end, this is a win, and this is a loss, and they lost. And they lost 6 of their last 7 last year. There's been coordinator turnover, obviously. There's been some significant losses if they come into this game, without Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and A.J. Brown, which I know 2 of them are retired, so they're not coming back, but Brown, who we don't think is going to play, like that's a different team than the group that was 10-1 last year in Week 11. So, how good are the Eagles? There's a reason I picked New Orleans before the season started to win this game, is because I was kind of curious, what are they? And for the sake of analysis, and if we're really being truthful, they should probably be 2-0, but they're not. They should be. I think it's a good team. I don't think it is the steamroller full of chainsaws that they were for a year and a half in 22 and half of 23. I think they're good. And this matchup is really good for New Orleans on the ground because Right now, this Philly team is a sieve in run defense. They're dead last in the NFL in opposing yards per carry. 6.4 yards per carry in the National Football League is terrible. And that's what this Eagles team has put out there through 2 weeks. Bijan Robinson was a hot knife through butter last week. Just, whew. They couldn't stop him. Now, what's Alvin Kamara going to do? The Saints have put on tape that they want to run the ball, that they are good at running the ball, that they want to run wide zone. That's what Atlanta was running. That looks like a really good matchup. And then offensively, you look at this Philly offense, and it looks pretty good. Better with A.J. Brown. You really like Devontae Smith on the outside. You really like Saquon Barkley. And Goddard is a solid middle-of-the-field option for him. And Hurts is pretty good. I would say he's somewhere between the 8th best and 14th best quarterback in the NFL. Depends on the week. But they are not a juggernaut. And right now, if you want to make the argument that the Saints are a bigger threat in the NFC than the Eagles, you can back that up with a lot over the last 2 weeks that would support it. Now, if you try to back it up over 3 years, you get bloodbath. But if you back it up with 2 weeks in these two teams this year, I kind of like the Saints right now. And then you plug in the Dome into the equation, and you realize how ridiculous that place is going to be on Sunday, especially if the Saints get off to a good start. That's going to be a tough deal for Philadelphia. I've got to look a little bit deeper. This is more of a surface area take. Got to look at this team and get the injury report moving forward. What's Taysom doing? He was back at practice today. What's A.J. Brown doing? What's Marshawn Lattimore doing? I'd like a little bit more information that hopefully we'll get by the end of the show on Friday when I make my final pick this week. But right now, you kind of feel like you got to lean New Orleans. And that's not something most people were prepared to do 2 weeks ago. Maybe not something that most people were prepared to do last week. I think more people than not will be prepared to do it this week as the Eagles head to the Dome for a noon kickoff on Sunday. We'll be talking about it today. We'll be talking about it tomorrow for sure. If you want to hear Saints content all the time, you can do that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. If you're fired up about the way the Saints have played early on in this football season, you're not alone. Go to the channel, Hunt on Saints, and click the videos. They're going to cut down into like 10, 12-minute segments. Shout out to the Team Spazzali over there. Team Spazzali. It was bound to happen. I can't go through much time without doing it.
It's okay. It happens.
You can't not with that. But shout out to Team Spazzali for getting that all together each and every day. And y'all can check that out at Hunt on Saints. When we come back, we start talking some LSU football. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, joins us coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, if you moved a couple years ago, locked in a really good interest rate, and you like your location, not in necessarily a hurry to get a new interest rate that's in the high fives or sixes because you're in the low threes, well, you don't have to get a new interest rate and move to upgrade your living situation. Just call David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. They'll come out. Starts with a free consultation, a questionnaire. What do you have? What do you want? You could get into the closet of your dreams. It's going to be functional. It's going to be catered to your every need. And it's going to look great because that's what they do at One Bath and Closets. They're not going to do it real quickly, get to the next job, take your cash, and we'll come back in a month if something's not right. Nope. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. David's been at this for 4 decades. He knows how to handle bathrooms. He knows how to handle closets, and you could be next on his list. You just got to go to the website. It's onebathandclosets.com. There are testimonials there. You can see how satisfied his customers are. There are pictures that are fantastic work there as well. There's a descriptor right there. Why choose us? If you're watching on YouTube, get that free consultation. Doesn't cost you a cent. If you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you $1,000 off of your project. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online. Onebathandclosets.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Tonight, 7 o'clock, TJ Ribs, the Brian Kelly Show. Chris Blair will be your host on the LSU Sports Radio Network. He joins us every Thursday, does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Hunt. Good. Ready for a warm Saturday. Get ready for a little afternoon football.
There will be some afternoon football. I want to get to that, but can we go back to last week first? You've been to quite a few games in Williams-Brice Stadium. We figured it'd be an electric atmosphere, and obviously game day leads into a 17-0 lead for the Gamecocks. How did that one compare to the rest of the league that you've been to on Saturday?
Well, you know, my first game at Williams-Brice was in 1989, and I saw them defeat the Steve Spurrier coach Duke Blue Devils in week 1. Came back a couple of weeks later, and Papa Bowden and Florida State rolled through them, and it was a night game, and it was electric, but they didn't have much of a fight against the Noles at that time. But I got to admit, I mean, as advertised, you know, we got into the stadium about 2 hours prior to kickoff. Once the gates opened, I mean, the student section was top to bottom filled. It started to fill in. A white towel started going, and again, it's a hostile environment, and they were feeling good about themselves, and why shouldn't they when they got off to a 17-0 start? So, you know, again, you would have loved to seen the Tigers put those 4 quarters together, and I know that's the mission. But be able to battle back, second biggest comeback on the road in league play in that atmosphere, I just, you know, again, I'm glass half full dude. I know I look through purple and gold lenses. I readily admit that. But, you know, I just think getting that win could be just a shot in the arm for this team, especially with the 2 weeks coming up, then the first bye week, and then you start the gauntlet. I think there's a lot of things you can get right starting this Saturday that you took steps forward with on both sides of the ball, really, at times against South Carolina. And the best part is, several weeks down the road, Hunt, all we're going to know is there's a W beside that South Carolina game.
We're getting to learn Brian Kelly more and more as he does more press conferences and we see more football. But I'm getting the sense that he really and truly believes that you can really only learn from playing really good teams. He appears to not care about playing some of these smaller schools. He even if you lose to USC, he feels like there's value that you can take. And it's hard to argue with him because they've started off slowly for the first 2 years, even 3 now, and they've improved over time in all of his 3 seasons. Have you gotten that sense from him and talking to him?
I do, and I certainly can agree, and I'm sure if you ask Coach Kelly, he would be the first to tell you, look, our job is to have them ready to go, playing peak performance, first game of the season, regardless of where it is and who we're playing. I get all that. But I really listened to him Monday, Hunt, talk about, hey, look, we're playing some true freshmen, and they really have, several of them have stood out early on through the first 3 games. We got some transfers that are coming in and trying to find the right personnel groupings on both sides of the ball. And now we've got everybody on our team now that will be involved in playing for the Tigers has game tape, has some proof of performance, so to speak. And again, I think it's valuable. And I think because that game Saturday, and I don't want to harp on it or beat a dead horse, I think because of the way they put it together, really came together as a team in that second half and down the stretch, that you get these 2 weeks now that the coaching staff is well aware of who we need to have on the field, when they need to be on the field, and what position do we need to put them in for their best skill set to be successful. And I think you learn a lot of that, to your point, against a team like USC, against a team like South Carolina, who I was impressed with their front 4 as advertised. I think that's important. And again, that sounds like I'm making excuses because there are teams around the country that maybe are a farther ahead in week 1 than LSU has been. But again, everything's still out in front of you. So instead of woe is me, the sky is falling, I look at it as you've got 2 weeks against the UCLA team at home, then a South Alabama team at home, then that bye week. And that's enough time, I believe, that these guys can get the ship righted. And I think we'll see it over the next 2 weeks. I know it's not going to change a lot of people's minds, and it's not going to change the national narrative. But for this team, I think this is a critical 3-week period.
There's no doubt, and we've talked about that since they walked off the field in Las Vegas. Like, you got a month, basically. You got maybe a trip there at South Carolina that you could stub your toe on, but you really got a month to get ready for Ole Miss, and I kind of feel the same way at this point. They were disruptive on defense. I don't think they were good because they gave up 2 60-plus yard touchdown runs, but they did make a lot of plays in the backfield. Do you think that can be a calling card for this team?
Yeah, because we went into the game, and goodness knows, I know you guys talked about it on game day. Jacob Hester and Gordy talked about it prior to kickoff. How was LSU's offensive line going to handle the especially the edge rushers of South Carolina? They got some really talented guys up there. And, of course, South Carolina able to get the first sack on Nussmeier. They got to him a couple of times. They rushed a couple of throws. But as the game wore on, we were talking more about LSU's edge rushers, which, everybody wants to see that come back to the forefront. That's what LSU's defense has been known for a long time. And, frankly, it's been lacking for a number of years. So that was the first sign. That you're going to be able to get some pressure on some quarterbacks, because goodness knows South Carolina, I know they lost Lenore Sellers late in the second quarter, and that certainly changed their game plan. But overall, you kind of knew that Sellers and even Ashford are going to be limited as to what they can do in the passing game. It was going to be the run. So they're going to see some guys coming up that certainly are going to you're going to have to be able to get to the quarterback, disrupt the quarterback, upset their timing, and hopefully get home on more than fewer occasions.
Do you see a path where Caden Durham is the lead back on this team?
Yeah, I see a path there, but I totally agree with Coach Brian Kelly. I mean, it didn't shock me on Monday that, he basically said, hey, I'm not ready to put the crown on him yet. I mean, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, I think you've got 3 to 4 backs. We've seen 4 in the rotation that, depending on down and distance and situation of the game and situation at hand, their skill sets, they're not all carbon copies. So, and really when you look at Coach Kelly, even at his previous stop, I mean, they always rotated backs. So I think that's going to continue. But I also think, he's a freshman. He's his eyes are wide open. I thought he was impressive. He broke contact after first touch. Had great field vision on that 3rd and 9, and obviously they had enough confidence in him to have him in there when everybody at Williams-Brice and anybody watching or listening kind of felt like it was going to be up to Garrett and the receivers to make that play. So a gutsy call, and they had faith in a freshman running back to make it happen. Do I think he's going to have a chance to be that? Yeah, but I understand, it's hard to tell a freshman, yeah, you've arrived, because we're 3 games into the season. So, again, I'm reading into what Coach Kelly said, but I can understand that line of thought. But, you got to be optimistic considering he had 2 rushing touchdowns as a freshman against an SEC team, and the last guy to do that was Leonard Fournette. So, that may be a good sign.
That would be a really good sign if things could work out just like that. Have you learned anything about Garrett Nussmeier through 3 weeks as a starting quarterback?
Yeah, I think he seems to me at times a little amped up. Again, he can make every throw, and we've seen him really put it in tight windows. So I'm not questioning his ability. And I also have really liked his decision making. Without Chris Hilton and, we got Kyle Parker back last week. How close to 100% he is, I don't know, but certainly we hope that he's going to get there quicker. I think the thing that's lacking, and I think we talked about it last week, is the ability to really stretch the field and really spread a defense out. And again, that's taking nothing away from what Aaron Anderson has done, certainly what Kyron Lacey has done, tied for second in touchdowns in the country. I mean, those guys are tremendous, and they're really bothering defensive coordinators. Let's get that straight. But I want to be able to have Garrett get back to that where he's ready to unload when he can get somebody, sprinting down the field, get behind the defense. That's all missing, and that's not Garrett's fault. I mean, we're waiting for that personnel to be ready to go. But I like what I've seen from him, and I think in the same way LSU as a team learned a lot from being able to come over adversity and win the game last week, I think Garrett Nussmeier learns a lot that will benefit him, because obviously that was the most pressure. Sped up a couple of throws, had to throw off his back foot a couple of times, and as we mentioned, got sacked. So I think that was a good game for him. And the best news is LSU got the W.
No question about it. As you start to look towards this UCLA game, you didn't know what UCLA was going to be this year in the middle of a coaching change, and hasn't looked great statistically or on the highlight tapes through 2 weeks. What have you kind of looked at with this UCLA club that comes in?
Well, I thought you nailed it on your article on LouisianaSports.net. It's a team that lost 9 defensive starters. They were a number 11 or top 15 in defense last year. Their coordinator skips across town from Westwood to USC's campus. Their coach, way beyond coaching season, decides he wants to hang it up, in early March of this year and heads to Ohio State. They kind of scrambled to find a coach. They looked to one of their former superstars in Deshaun Foster, and you bring in a guy like Eric Bieniemy. But that's a guy. As I talked to Josh Lewin, who's the voice of the Bruins yesterday, and he said, "Look, it's a complicated offense. That's what Bieniemy is used to with professionals with his success at Kansas City, and so they've kind of had to dumb it down over the last couple of weeks to just get some semblance of a rhythm and an identity. And they've just struggled. I mean, they struggled mightily against Hawaii and just got steamrolled by Indiana at home last week. So a couple of guys we're not sure if they're going to go, and they're 2 guys they certainly rely on. Coach Foster was very tight-lipped about whether or not they will be ready to go. And it's been a tough year. I think about the first meeting in 21. It was exciting for LSU and UCLA, 2 big iconic brands, as recognizable as any in sports, and you're going to the Rose Bowl, and we know how that all turned out, and it was a downhill slide from there. It's kind of the same feeling, although I don't want to put that kind of pressure on Deshaun Foster. He's in his first year, and he's only been on the job for a handful of months. But UCLA comes in here to iconic Tiger Stadium for the first time ever, and unless they come up with some magic solution over the last couple of days, it's a team that's really struggling on really both sides of the ball. Indiana did whatever they wanted to do. Their quarterback looked like a Heisman candidate last week. And offensively, they're mustering 14 points a game. And that's not going to work in the SEC. And frankly, with 14 points a game and only about 83 yards rushing, that's not going to do it in the Big Ten either.
It is not, and we'll see the Bruins coming up here at in Tiger Stadium in a little bit after 2:30. Sounds like just people can't get enough of me and Fave and Brandon on Facebook these days. Is that right?
No, absolutely. The numbers are through the charts. I mean, it's just amazing. And I told our crew, last week you guys had a real long shot, and I think we can improve the numbers. Maybe get a little close up. So we'll try to move the camera a little closer to you guys this week.
I don't know if they'll have us back for the Texas A&M game, because I think Fave won like $30. I won $32. So we really took that place for all it was worth. I don't know if they're willing to have us back.
Yeah, there was a report you guys broke the house, so good for you.
Coach's show tonight, TJ Ribbs, 7 o'clock. We'll talk to Chris again next Thursday. You can hear him on the call Saturday from Death Valley. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Hunt. See you Saturday.
He is Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. Of course, our game day broadcast on the LSU Sports Radio Network will fire up at 12:30 p.m. From just between the ramps of the Assembly Center across the street from Tiger Stadium. If you're on campus, highly invite you to come on by and see us. We always have a really good time there. Me, myself, Brandon Taylor, and Marlon Favorite. Although BT's not going to be there this week. He is out west, but me and Fav will hold it down in the Tiger One Village. All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little LSU. No, we're going to talk some Saints football when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. I just dropped my pen right there. I'm just not gonna stick around. That's a disaster. You drop a pen, that's a disaster, but it didn't cause the power to go out. Other disasters might cause the power to go out unless you have a generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running it for 40 years down there in the 985. They've got the same phone number they've had for 40 years down in the 985. It's 397-1562. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that you're not going to lose power. Those hurricanes are inevitable. There's already a disturbance down there in the Caribbean right now. Hopefully it doesn't head this way, but you know the next one is always going to come. It's better when you don't have to sweat through, am I going to lose power? Do I need to go somewhere else? Well, you're not going to lose power if you've got a certified Generac generator right there from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. So give them a call at 985-397-1562. Also got a Gonzales location as well, but I'll give you the easy part. If you just go to BoudreauxElectrical.com, you can get that free quote right there online. It's Boudreaux's Electrical. You can find them at BoudreauxElectrical.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I think we've been kicked around a little bit too much to where like we just don't even care, what people think. Right now we're the greatest thing ever, if you ask anybody. And to us, it's like when we go in there, we've always believed in each other. And we grind and we grow together. And if we want to have success, we got to keep doing what we've been doing. We can't get too high. I've heard MVP chants in the stadium. I've also been booed in the stadium. Like I've heard both, and neither of them matter. You just got to keep working, stay true to who you are, and just be a great teammate and try your best on Sundays.
I think Derek Carr's got some pretty good perspective. I think he understands how to be a pro. He's not a third-year guy who's going to get his feelings hurt. I'm sure he was really disappointed in his first year in a new city with a fresh start that he was getting booed. But I also think he probably understood it. Like, I don't get booing. I personally don't understand it. I don't see how you think booing your team is going to make them play better. It's not like they went out there and they were like, okay, all right, we'll probably get this done, but if we don't, who cares? Oh, they're booing? Let's play harder now. That's never worked for me. My thing is generally supporting your team. I think it would mean a lot to a team that was struggling if the crowd got completely behind them instead of waiting at the first drop of a hat to boo. But there's something about fans, especially in professional sports, less so in college, but definitely in professional sports, fans take some sort of pride in booing their team when they don't play well. Like the city of Philly lives off of it. And it's bizarre to me, but certainly it applies in New Orleans as well. And we talked about the Saints needing to get off to a really good start against Carolina, or else those booers were going to come out really quickly. Well, they did much more than that, and they've done it for 2 weeks. And so I don't think Derek Carr is going to get too high or too low. I think he's going to be a good messenger in that locker room, and you don't have to worry about guys like Kamara and Cam Jordan and Tyron and Demario Davis. That's the positive of having a really veteran team, is that you don't have to worry about them kind of letting go of the rope because things have gone really well for a couple of weeks. They've got to get back to it this week and play really hard and really well. And Dennis Allen met with the media on Wednesday and talked about not getting complacent and making sure that your team is continuing to do the things that they need to do.
Nobody should be eating any cheese in week 2 of the season going into week 3. It's early. And when you watch the tape, you look at it and you'd say, yeah, we did good things. Okay, but there's still a lot of things that we have to clean up and that we have to be, better at. And so I thought our guys came out today. I thought they had a focus. I thought they had an intensity. I thought they prepared well. They were into the plan in all 3 phases. So that's the formula for success.
And I think that you've got a lot of veteran presence. And Dennis Allen's a veteran in the NFL. He's basically a veteran head coach at this point. It hasn't been very successful, but he's been at it for 4.5, 5 years. So he hasn't had a ton of success, so we'll see how he deals with that. But I think his attitude is the right one here as the Saints get ready to roll. I hand up right here. Absolutely. I said in the preseason, after 1 or 2 preseason games, maybe in a second one, but I think it was maybe the first one. I said, look, Trevor Penning's not an NFL offensive lineman. It's just not going to work out. They can try, understand trying. You've got a big investment in him. He counts some against their salary cap. Like, that's a guy that you want to work out, but it doesn't appear to me that that's ever going to happen. And I'm not ready to put him in the Pro Bowl yet, but you haven't noticed him that much, and he's made some solid blocks. Of course, he was one-on-one manned up with Micah Parsons on the big touchdown to Rashid Shaheed back on Sunday in Dallas, and Penning met with the media and talked about not only his mindset, but the mindset of the entire offensive line through 2 weeks.
It's kind of, like you said, it's a good start. Just going out there, I think we're all playing with good confidence. We're looking to, move that line of scrimmage. I think we all have the same mindset of, playing hard, knowing our assignments, and, having a strong run game and being able to protect Derek in the pass game.
Maybe for him as much as anybody, confidence is important. I mean, I can't personally imagine lining up against NFL defensive ends ever, because obviously that makes a lot of sense. I'm not really capable of throwing a solid block. But I would imagine it's more difficult if you're like, God, what am I doing out here? I can't get this done. And there would be reason in year 3 of Trevor Penning's time in New Orleans to think, I have not been able to do this for 3 years. Like, I got no shot. And that's tough to shake. And I feel like now 2 weeks in that he's gotten into the rhythm, because there was really no success last year. From the start against Tennessee, he just got his lunch eaten. And they finally just said, that's it, we got to go with somebody else. And so he's had no success in the NFL. Now that there is a little bit, that's got to feel really good for him. And you're hopeful as a Saints fan, and certainly that organization's hopeful, that he starts the road to a solid NFL career. and he can handle that right tackle spot. That's the hope. Let's go back to approach and mindset, and I want to go back to the offense, and we'll start with Dennis Allen here. About Derek Carr's approach this season that Dennis Allen has seen thus far.
His approach has been awesome since he's been here, and I think there's even been a heightened sense of urgency with him, knowing that we were putting in a new scheme and knowing the challenges that go along with that at the quarterback position. But he embraced the challenge. He bought into everything that we've been asking him to do. I think he's in a great headspace right now. I think he feels good about what we're doing offensively. I think he's got good rapport with his receivers, skill players, I should say. I'm really pleased with where he's at and what he's been able to do, and excited for him, and I think he's going to keep getting better.
All the reports have been that Derek Carr was really involved in this offseason, really dedicated to try to make this right. And he had another year that he's pretty much guaranteed on his contract, so the money's done. I mean, he's gotten paid. He's generationally wealthy at this point in his life. And so it would be, reasonable or doable to just be like, all right, well, I'll show up for training camp and OTAs, and we'll get. But I think there was a lot of hard work and dedication that went into trying to get this right, and there was no guarantee that was going to work out. We were all skeptical of it. I was certainly skeptical of it. But Derek Carr talked about the work that has now produced some success for this offense.
There's so much that goes into it. The coaches have been unbelievable, and the standard they've held us to. Our guys have worked their butts off. The extra film you see guys that come in here on our off day, and you see so many guys in here watching or they're in the building and they're doing things to get ready for the game, and it's like, wow, it's all that extra hard work in the off season that our strength coaches put us through, and the OTAs and the training camp that DA put us through, and it's all that work, how hard it was then. Like I said after the game, you're thankful for it now.
And Carr continued talking about Clint Kubiak and the impact that he's made. Look, he's the toast of the town at this point because there's so many that are the exact same that were there last year in a miserable, mediocre season. And Kubiak's been the difference thus far. And Derek Carr talked about his impact in the meeting room.
He's all ball. He grew up around it just like I did. Yeah, he's very, I'd say stoic's probably a good word out here. And he's stoic. He's like that with us too. But when it's time to coach football, when he put that clicker in his hand, he's going to call me out. He's going to call our guys out. He's going to address everything. He's going to say, I need it like this. And they coach perfection. He is going to coach perfection. He's going to hold us to that standard all the time, knowing that no one's ever going to be perfect. But we all say, yes, sir. We work on it at practice. He doesn't let anything fall into the cracks, and we do it all in front of each other, and then now we're held accountable in front of our peers. And I think that's a beautiful thing, is that when you can do that, in the way that he does it, in the way that he cares about us also. It's not just like he's yelling at us and he doesn't care. He also tells us, hey, good freaking throw. That's nice to hear sometimes too.
It's all working for New Orleans right now, and that's beyond debate. And there we could try to come up with some sort of negative talking point this week. We could try to critique something here or there. There's really not anything there. They're not turning the ball over. They're not missing field goals. They're not getting penalized far too much. There were some in the first game and whatever, but there's really not anything to pick out at this point. Over the course of 17 games, there will be. And there will be losses, and there will probably be back-to-back losses at some point. I mean, that's not unreasonable to suggest. Right now, it's sunshine and roses for this New Orleans Saints team, and I think that a lot of that is a great storyline to talk about. My favorite storyline to talk about with this game coming up on Sunday, and it has been since Monday. I'm not even going to be there, but my favorite talking point about this game against the Eagles for the Saints is going to be the environment in the Superdome, because that is something that has been absent from this franchise for too long. For so long, it was incredible in there. I live with a young lady, my wife, who was in New Orleans in nursing school, a young professional who was in the Dome all the time in the middle of the Breeze era, and she loved it. And we went a couple times post-Breeze, Jameis. She just like, this sucks. I'm not going back. She did not like it. Now, she's not telling you much about the wide zone, and she doesn't care who wins the coin toss. She'd really rather see what they do on the Jumbotron for the us versus them thing than try to break down the game. But she knows how much fun that place can be when the Saints are rocking, and they haven't been for too long. And Carr talked about earlier this week, is he ready for a real home field advantage in the Dome?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We had to prove it to our fans. Like, we didn't give them good enough football last year. And, at the end of the year, it was really fun. I had a lot of fun at the end of the year. There was, some rough times at the beginning and in the middle, but, that last half of the year, I did feel that love and that appreciation and support. But I think what we've done, obviously, the first 2 weeks here, we always talk about, like, we got to win for our city. We got to win, for them to be happy. We want to do everything so everyone can enjoy Sundays, with us. And so I think that this is going to be an electric atmosphere. I think our fans are really excited, but you can definitely feel the buzz about it. We knew, if we want to do what we want to do, we were going to need that stadium rocking. And we have to play good football for that to happen. I'm excited for, this Sunday and to feel that atmosphere for sure.
That's the soundbite. That's the bite. It just wasn't that fun last year. And there were boo birds everywhere and the Saints were losing, and that sucks. It's not fun for anybody. And while you wish that the city and the fans would just come out and go nuts and be rabid and supportive even if things aren't great, it's just not realistic. It doesn't happen in the Superdome. It doesn't happen down the street in Tiger Stadium. That's just not going to happen. You've got to get things moving so the fans show up. There's a Matt McMahon bite that played before all the basketball games last year where he said, instead of waiting for us to win to show up, why don't you show up and be part of why we win? And that is awesome in principle, and I agree with Matt McMahon on that. But it's just not realistic. You're not going to get this city to show up and be rabid and fill the PMAC for a game against Auburn if you're 4 games under 500 in the league. It's just not going to happen. I've been here for 18 years. If you're 6-1 in the league and Arkansas shows up, yeah, they'll fill it up. They'll fill it up on a Saturday afternoon if you're 6-1. That's just the way it goes. And the Saints weren't going to get that rabid atmosphere middling around 500 with a quarterback that the city was lukewarm on and a coach they were ready to run out of town. But now that's not the case. Sunday's going to be awesome. Can't wait to watch it. Maybe I'll get there for a game this fall. We'll see how that goes. The pregnant wife, the odds aren't awesome. However, she does like the Saints, and that would be my designated driver. So we would really like that. We'll see if we can make that happen. We come back with one more segment here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about audio video security solutions, avssla.com. It's getting to be fall. Temps are not really in the 90s much anymore. They will be for the next couple of days, but a lot of highs in the 80s, and that means highs in the 70s are coming, and that's time to hang out on the back patio, watch some football, have a beverage, hang out with the kids, let the young kids play. And if you want to do that with some tunes or television outside at your patio, at your pool, wherever the case may be, wherever you hang out back in your house, let Audio Video Security Solutions come in and put those speakers in. Wire them up for you. Mitchell Fisher's got this really cool thing right outside my back door. It's got buttons. I can actually hit a button and have 104.5 ESPN just come on the touch of a button. I didn't even know you could do that, but I don't know much of anything. You may not either. Audio Video Security Solutions does. And if you want to hook up your audio capabilities outside, some video capabilities outside, you're ready to watch some football on Saturdays or Sundays outside, do that with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They can supply the equipment. They can supply the television. They supply speakers. They can do it all. They install it, and the customer service after the installation is fan-freaking-tastic. So call Mitchell Fisher, 225-439-7920. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there, and get your audio situations hooked up. Get your video situation hooked up outside for football season and the holidays that will come. They're the People's Choice Award winner for the best vendor at the Parade of Home. They're that for a reason. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 7.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Shell are excited to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Tiger Stadium with our Draw to 100 sweepstakes. We're giving you the opportunity to join in the VIP-style celebrations on October 12th for the Ole Miss game. Sign up today at 1045ESPN.com. We'll live stream the drawing on October 10th, and the 100th name drawn will win Stadium Club seats, sideline passes, and autographed memorabilia. It's the Draw to 100 sweepstakes presented by Shell, the rhythm of Louisiana.
Got an idea for you, folks. You're going to go out to Tiger Stadium. If you're doing your tailgating, you should go to Rouse's and get your tailgating supplies. Maybe you come home after that 2:30 game. It's about 7:30. There's games on TV. Could be time to put a steak on the grill. Rouse's has got fantastic steaks back there in the meat section. No matter which one you go to, right there in the back middle of the store on Burbank and Lee. Go by, pick up some ribeyes, some fillets. They already have them right out there. You want to put some burgers on the grill, they got those too, and pre-made patties as well. Get on by Rouse's. Rouse's is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, this feels like home. All right, back. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. LSU will wear purple uniforms Saturday night against UCLA. Uniforms are take it or leave it.
What do you think I'm going to say?
Leave it. No shot, Hunt.
I will say leave it, but it's tepid. Like, I'm okay with the purples. Here's my biggest beef.
You don't adhere to the purple.
There's some history in purple. Like, we have worn some purple uniform games.
The purple
curse? As long as you make them classic. No. And the bring back the magic deal with the white jerseys was fantastic. That's all great, well and good. But we are getting deprived of an elite uniform matchup of the LSU home classics and the UCLA powder blues.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue here. I don't despise the purples. The whites are better. It's the alternate crap that I want to throw in the river.
The white helmets.
That's unacceptable.
All right, next one here. Cleaning up after the cat in new pants. Take it or leave it.
Worst decision of 2024
okay,
for me.
So what happened?
Worst decision. I mean, I've blown a tire out this year hitting a curb, and this was worse than that. The cat, at times, when she's using the litter box, things get caught up in the tail.
Yeah.
She has to deal with that on the tile floor in the laundry room. So I went in there to deal with that after she dealt with that. And I was using a bleach spray, and I was on my hands and knees.
Hunt.
That's really freaking stupid.
What were you doing with bleach spray?
It's just got a little bit of bleach in it to clean up. I mean, there's poop all over.
Okay, yeah, I know, but they make like spray for that doesn't have bleach in it.
It was a poor decision, and those pants are toast. They're already in the trash. Hunt. They're already on the curb.
Wow.
I mean,
where did it get? Where did it get on your pants?
The knees. I was on my hands and knees, and there's bleach spray on the floor. That was just mind-numbingly stupid. Just not thinking. It's 6:30 in the morning. I'm trying to take care of this. I'm already dressed for work. Those pants are toast.
Wow.
Just gone.
That's horrendous.
That's a bad effort. Score one for the folks that thinks pets are stupid. Y'all are stupid, but it was bad news for me.
Yeah, well, it was just a poor decision by you there. Next one here, we talked about it a little bit, but Derek Carr fined $14,000 for his celebration after he's scoring the rushing touchdown. The No Fun League. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I mean, that is the No Fun League. I'll leave the No Fun League. Like, just let it. dancing is fine. If you want to outlaw like tossing the ball to the other team or getting in their face or throwing punches or something, I'll get on board with it. Dancing, get over yourself.
I mean, as a wise receiver named Hingle McCringleberry once said, you can get 2 pumps with 3. He only had 1. He only did 1 pump. Like it should not have been a fine, but here we are.
We used the picture on LouisianaSports.net. It was fantastic.
Yep.
Kid-friendly site, but we used the picture.
Yeah. All right, next one here. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson and members of the Dallas City Council wore TCU Sucks t-shirts at Wednesday's City Council meeting in response to TCU pausing the TCU-SMU rivalry after 2025, losing 100-year-old rivalries. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. They should probably play. I realize that we got different conferences and all the affiliations and whatnot, and you got Fort Worth, you got Dallas, and I've got friends that went to TCU and friends that went to SMU. They really don't like each other.
No, they don't.
All. I think the TCU shirt sucks. It's funny. It's harmless, and it makes me chuckle. So good on you there, Councilman, whoever you were, and Mayor Johnson.
Yeah, quickly though, what is the worst? I mean, what's the worst outcome of these rivalries going away? Like, I think Oklahoma State going away is like really bad.
Texas A&M was bad. And we fixed it. Yeah, that's bad. That one's bad. That's a bad deal.
That's tough. All right, last one real quick. The PGA of America announced Thursday that LIV golf players are eligible to compete in both the PGA Championship and Ryder Cup teams going forward. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's fine. They already do. Brooks played on the Ryder Cup team. I think this is, whatever. I hate LIV. I hate everyone that's involved in all that. It makes me sick, and you already know that. But they're all doing fine. They're all rich, and they play golf no one knows about, and they want to come play in these tournaments too. And everybody's cranky about that, and there's just no solution in sight. So, as I originally said right from the beginning, this is breaking golf in half. And I was like, no, they'll figure it out. It's fine. Competition breeds everything. Nope, it's split in half. It sucks. That's it for me. If you missed the show, catch it on demand. We're back tomorrow for a Football Friday. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further View. Have an awesome Thursday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.